Welcome to the True North 365 podcast, where we focus on being true to you every day of the year. On this podcast, you will hear from Alex Winningham, who is a human empowerment enthusiast and lifestyle coach, providing you with the tools you need to succeed in life. She's an independent parent, consultant with Arbonne International, and a proud owner of 2 Chihuahuas. The True North 365 message is to provide you with the support you deserve from an authentic and raw space through interviewing influential people and Alex's own thoughts on life. I'm so excited that you have decided to jump on the show on True North 365. We have Leasa Tyrell here with us, and she is a mother, an entrepreneur, a wife, and has so many amazing things she wants to share with you guys on the show, and I'm just so excited you're here. So thank you, Leasa, for coming on, and welcome.
You are so welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So tell the audience, I know why I have you on here is because the first time we spoke over the phone, we ended up talking for, I think it was like an hour and a half. We talked about the universe. We talked about the law of attraction. We talked about balance. We talked about love. We talked about so many things.
Everything.
And it struck me and it stuck with me. And you've been on my heart ever since. And I was like, we have to record some of this conversation. And now you're here. So whatever you'd like to share about you, about your business, about your family, and just to let us know you a little bit more, that'd be great.
Well, I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. I was brought up in a real confusing environment. So having a family right now, to me, I cherish it a lot. It is a struggle. I'm not going to put on this big show like it's all perfect and everything just goes smoothly. It's nothing like that, but it has molded me and sculpted me. I'm a mom of 4 right now. I do stay at home and I do little things on the side. Like I know how to do hair. I do like other things outside the home, catering, any little thing. I'm a hustler baby, So that's basically, and I'm married as well. And marriage to itself, that's a whole nother category of, just dealing with all my relationships. So I'm so happy to be on here, and just whatever you have to ask me, just ask, and I'm ready to proceed. I'm ready to share my knowledge.
Well, thank you so much. It's not easy to come on where it's the social media era that we're living in, where everyone can find anything on anybody. So what we share is just such a testimony to our vulnerability and our willingness to help others regardless of the trolls that might be out there. And I gotta ask you this is fresh off the press for True North 365. We got our first troll today, someone who came online and was just ripping me just a new light on like these people that are out there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was crazy.
Wow.
So
you got to experience that.
Yeah. I went over to a friend of mine's and I told her, I was like, I got my first troll. Like I've never had one. And you have a YouTube channel and you're like killing the game. You got all these like crazy like edits in there and like your thumbnails, which for those of you who don't know what thumbnails are, it's like the main picture before the actual video starts, where you go through Facebook and you'll see the words with the pictures. So tell me, I'm just curious. So how do you deal with the negativity on the internet as a YouTuber?
Honestly, I got maybe one comment that was like, it wasn't too negative. It was more so like shade, and then redirected the viewers to go to their channel. So it's more like, oh, the sandwich, the compliment, the insult, and then the compliment. It was like, great tips. Too bad they don't normally work. But come to my channel, stuff, a little shade like that. And when I first seen it, it did kind of make me a little bit, a little agitated. 'Cause I'm like, okay, but I already know to expect these things, when you're putting yourself out there, people are going to critique you. Your own family critique you. So when you're going to put yourself out there worldwide, you just got to go with the punches. So good thing, there are ways to handle that type of situation. So I'm grateful for those different ways where you can monitor the comments, but you can't monitor everything.
You sure can't. You really
No.
can't.
Mm-mm.
And there's a lot of people that are in the younger generation that don't have children and are like, I just want to be a YouTuber. I don't do your children, do they want to be YouTubers?
My daughter's definitely interested in doing YouTube. I told
Oh,
her, yeah, she wants to do like pranks and she's 11 years old, so her age group type of things. So I told her, I was like, all right, let me, get a hold of what I'm doing first, get a grip of that first, and then I'll definitely work with you. She said,
yeah.
why not? I don't like to be in anyone's way. So that's what she has in her heart. I'm gonna go with it.
Absolutely. And they're watching you. You got
Yeah, exactly.
you got 8 eyeballs on you all the time. They're
Right?
like, what's
What do you say, Mike? what do you what do you normally call them? I say my squad. You say your army. You like when you put your army to bed.
I do be asking you that. Like, when's your army gonna be asleep? Your
Oh my God.
squad, you're squatted, you're not squatted up, but you got a good squad over there. I know that. It's
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I'm
yeah,
gonna they're all gonna be in, if they're interested, let's do it. We're gonna do some entertainment. Why not?
why not,
Why
right?
not?
And you're setting the path. You're able to show them, like, you're gonna have some haters. My son saw the comment that was left, and because I was like, what? And then he's like, what's going on, mom? Because with 4 kids, like, you breathe the wrong way. They're like, what's going on? And you're like,
Right,
I'm
exactly.
fine.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And boy, they just want to hop on anybody that even looks at you wrong. But that's why they're your squad, like.
It's hard. You have to be honest. Like, you know what? And my daughter, she goes to school, so she deals with her own little thing. The kids nowadays are so much advanced than I know I was in my days. So,
Mhm.
you know, the good thing is the fact that she is willing to come to me and talk to me about certain things. That's what's amazing. So that's why I know we can do this social media, because if anything, we'll be able to discuss it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, you are a mom of 4, and you're also in a long relationship. You have a husband that you talked about, and I think it's important, if you would share
Mhm.
with our audience about being in a relationship. A lot of people that I know, that are our age, that are in their 30s or maybe in their 40s, like, they want to be in a relationship like right now, especially, moms that I know, they're like, let's do this. I'm ready for marriage. I saw a post just now. It was really funny. It said, I'm ready for marriage and a mortgage, not relationships and rent. So maybe you could shed a little light on that, on what that really means, and what to expect going into that, and how marriage has been for you, whatever you want to share. And then we'll, just take it from there.
Well, honestly, and this is from my point of view, we're all gonna have different experiences. This is a disclaimer. So from my experience, I have to say, when it comes to having that family life and having the husband, it depends on your situation. But from my experience, it is definitely a commitment, and it has a lot of ups and downs, you know. It takes getting out of your own way, getting, uh, you know, not being so self-centered. And I've noticed with a lot of people, they get into relationships and they feel like, you know, things are just going to happen overnight, and it really doesn't. So what I would suggest to anyone, especially, you know, this is new days, don't rush into anything. Definitely communicate as much as possible
Mm,
and pay attention to actions. Actions do not lie. Like,
yeah.
so, and you also have to like realize that we're all flawed. So I notice a lot of people, they get into relationships and, you know, they zoom in and worry about what their partner isn't doing, but at the same time there's a lot of things that they're not doing, you know. So it's so easy to get into relationships and just focus on what the other person is not doing to make you happy, but at the same time you have a lot of things going on as well. So balance is needed when it comes to having relationships and building bonds, and it takes time. It really does take time, especially if it's going to be something for the long run. I've been married going on 5 years, and I can say that I am grateful for my husband, but he is definitely a part of my family now. And if anyone is honest about family, family is normally the ones that step on your toes the most. Okay, so we have to be honest about this. It takes work. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. Trust me, there's times when I'm like, okay, I want to go to Jamaica on a beach right now. I'll see you guys later.
Amen.
Bye.
You're like,
Seriously.
yep, yep. I hear you, man. I hear you. And then about the time, and you've been married for 5 years. So when you met your husband, was there like a moment where you were like, this is the one that I'm gonna invest the rest of my life with? Or was it gradual? Did you know right away? Because there's these fantasies and these like Disney movies, right? Where the damsel in distress meets the prince charming, and then you know, they meet him and they're like, oh my gosh, love at first sight. But true relationships and true romance and keeping that alive in today's world, like I think it's a little bit different. And I would just love to hear your perspective and your story and how that unfolded, and if you could go back to when you first met him, what may have you done a little bit differently in order to set some lay a really firm foundation for where you guys are at today.
Okay. So when I first met my husband, I knew that I wanted to be with him, but I did not take him on. You know, I act like he wasn't even, I act like he was non-existent. Although, you know, I would go around our friends just so I can see him. I did play like, you know, hard to get. And what I realized after like getting to know him and talking to him and dealing with him, we kind of are like the same people, you know, like our actions, we're kind of like-minded. And I feel like that's how we got so far, is because we're so like-minded. So like it hasn't been perfect. So what my advice to you guys is, um, when you're seeking a relationship, just take your time. Just take your time, because a lot of times when you get with someone, there's a reason why you're getting with this person. It's not always, you know, it's gonna be this happy ever after. This happy ever after is not always gonna be like that. You know, it's gonna take some trial and error. And look at me, it's been some trial and error getting things, you know, like setting boundaries in the very beginning. When you are with anyone, set boundaries. Don't say, oh, you know, it's cute, or, you know, shrug things off. From the very beginning, set your boundaries and don't ever detour from that. You know, once someone sees that you respect yourself, they will continue to respect you. And always, always make sure you make that very clear. Very clear. You respect yourself before you even get into any type of partnership. And then you set those boundaries. And I'm not saying be rude, because one thing about women, men love when we have like the softer side. So, knowing how to deliver your message definitely is key. But never feel like you're not good enough. Always, always stand up for what you believe. Always. Mm-hmm.
So how can a young single girl, she has no kids, and she's working on, developing herself, she's got dreams and aspirations, there's thousands of ways to create a business, make money online. Like barely anybody has to get a job anymore because there's so many entrepreneurial opportunities out there. And so she's trying to do all that, and she's trying to use discernment. And you said, you really have to be willing to respect yourself and to take care of yourself, and then to show that. So give us some examples, my YouTubing self-care queen, of how a woman can take care of herself when she doesn't have a man, and maybe doesn't have kids. You and I have kids. When you have a child, you're either going to be a great woman or you're not. Like there might be a little bit of gray area in there, but you're either striving to be the best version of yourself 5
Yeah.
out of 7 days, maybe 7 out of 7 if you're really killing the game that week. But then there's
Yeah.
gonna be right, like then there's going to be either like the mom who like just doesn't really just like I'm not going to name examples because we're all in different spaces, but
Yeah.
and I don't want to disrespect anybody ever in any type of fashion, way, or form, but kids make you have to grow up. You either do or you don't.
Definitely.
But when you're younger, you have no kids, and then you got different men hollering at you, and you're lonely or whatever. Like how can we take care of ourselves?
First and foremost, I would love to make this very clear. When you invest time in yourself, it doesn't even start with looks, okay? It does not start with looks, because if you don't have anything up here, you're not going to get too far. So what I would suggest is, further your education. That will help build confidence. Anything you can do to build your self-esteem, whether it's if you want to act, take up acting, do things that has been calling to you. Because I noticed there were some things that I did want to take up and I did not take up, and I just ended up jumping into a family. So I would suggest, start with doing things to ensure that you can build your self-esteem, and keep yourself somewhat, not too much like on a pedestal, because you still have to remain humble in any type of relationship. But building yourself, as far as any activity, any little thing that you can do to whether it's education or what do you like tongue tied, anything like self-love, or anything like mentoring yourself, going to other mentors, just gaining knowledge, and staying active, doing things. Travel. If you don't have any kids, travel. Why not? Do things that are fun, get it all out of the way, because when you have kids, it's a commitment. So you're not going to always, depending on your background, you're not always going to be able to get up and go. So before you have kids, and before you have a husband or a spouse, get up and go. Do all these fun things. There's so much things to do. There's no rush. It's not a marathon. So definitely education, do some spiritual work, definitely do spiritual work. You're gonna need it. um, and travel, do things, have
Yeah.
fun. Because if you don't get those things out of the way, you're gonna have resentment in your heart. So that's what I suggest.
Hmm.
Big
So,
time.
so with that, you bring up a good point, like being able to travel and taking care of yourself, making that time, education. And what would be a good book, like for,
Ooh.
like what would be a good book, a good first personal development book for a girl to read? Would you recommend? Even if
Oh
it's something
my God.
new.
To even remember titles right now. Like right now, girl, let me show you. Hold on.
Let me see what
I
you
lost
read.
the cover, but I'm so behind. I don't know if you can see. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah, The Secret.
My daughter ripped up the cover.
Oh.
Um, there was a book. Oh my God. There was a book from Joyce Myers. I've actually read two of her books. One was something with self-doubt. But anyways, Google Joyce Myers. I read two of her books. I'm sorry I cannot remember the names, but they're really good books. Joyce Myers, period, is an awesome communicator. So I got so many information from her. Also, there was another book. For me to give titles, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for it, but this will open up your eyes a lot. The Secret,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And
Yeah, the Secret is good.
look up Joyce Myers.
Yeah, I did. So I've read one of her books called Battlefield of the Mind.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
That was the first book. That was the first book that I actually read with self improvement, spirituality. That was the first book that I read. Yes.
Mm.
Amazing book. Amazing book.
That is so interesting. Battlefield of the Mind is one of the first books I read too.
That
Yes.
is great.
Yes.
Wow, you see that?
Uh-huh. And
I
I love, go ahead, go ahead.
I was okay. I had just got a car, right? And I went to. It was a little distance away. So I was waiting on, when you first get a car, you get free maintenance and oil service and all that. So I was speaking to the lady because I was getting lunch. They had like a permanent lunch lady that shared food. So she was talking to me, we were engaging in conversation. And, I was telling her little ups and downs that I was going through. And she suggested that. She's like, yeah, she's like, she sent me to her channel on TV because she's also on TV during the morning time. So she sent me to that, and I was like, I really like books too. Does she have any? And she's like, yeah. By the way, I'm reading this book, and she showed me it. She's like, I'm almost done with this, so you can have it. And she gave it to me. I was like, wow. I was like, okay, good deal. So I read that book, and I'm like, it's so informative, and my perspective on life changed gradually
Mm,
just from reading that book.
mm.
It
Mine too.
360.
Yeah.
hmm She's so honest. You can just feel her energy. Like she tells you like how it is. She tells you how it is. That's it. She's
Mm.
straight up. I really appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
hmm
I I agree. Well, and that's something I think everyone can relate to, is just telling it how it is.
Yeah.
There's to switch gears back to entrepreneurship, and I don't know if you ever have been faced with this, and if so, let's dig into it a little bit. If not, I got plenty of other questions to ask. But the poser syndrome, where you feel like you're an imposter or a poser because you're supposed to act as if, you're supposed to keep it positive, keep it pushing, and not be negative, or you don't want to feel like you're bringing people down. And especially for moms, Especially a mom of four. I'm a mom of one, and I share time with his mom, his dad, and his other mom, his stepmom, and their kiddos. Like I have it. It took a lot of work to get there, but I share that space. And so as a mom, with home based businesses, and or not, like just that are trying to climb that corporate ladder, and they're in that grind every day, feeling like, well, I'm either an imposter because or a poser because I haven't really made it that far yet. Maybe because we had our children a little bit younger than most, we didn't get to finish that college education, and we are competing with people who do have college educations, or we feel like we didn't really get a chance to get that quite yet. What would be your advice on that, if you have any at all?
So I'm trying to understand the question. So
So
we shouldn't feel like, okay, is it a, what is the question? Let's just repeat the question. Sorry.
absolutely, absolutely. And so with Joyce Myers, what sparked this question is that she's authentic. You can feel how real she is. And as we develop who we are as women,
Mm-hmm.
and we face the authenticity that we're trying to find, how do you step into that space of authenticity with still being vulnerable enough to be who you are where you're at now, but also live up to what you want to be one day, and you want to get there, and then like kind of raising the bar a little bit. So my question is, where do you find the fine line between being on social media, being on YouTube as a woman, and being vulnerable, but also having that filter there? Like, how do you discern that? If anything on that you want to elaborate on. If it doesn't resonate, no big deal. But if it does, just hearing your perspective on, what we're putting out there, and then how to be totally authentic, and dealing with the judgment that can come with that.
I have to say that is a phenomenal question because that is a daily struggle that I go through quite often. And anytime I see myself faced with that type of situation, my first go to thought is practice what you preach, which isn't always easy for me to do, I must admit, but I go by that guideline wholeheartedly. If you're going to preach something, you need to practice it. Um, so with me, I notice when it comes to social media, you know, I definitely want to make my intentions really clear. Um, it's not for me to be on social media and just put my whole entire everything out on social media because it is a platform. And with this platform, you have to have your intentions set very clearly. Now, as far as my home base, I do practice what I preach. I'm not perfect, so I slip up. So the best thing that I know that I do sometimes, like say if I had a rough day with my kids or if I did something naughty, I apologize. I talk to my kids and I apologize. I'm like, you know what? I know I was in a bad mood. I talk. The best thing that I can do is to communicate and get out of my own way, you know, to not be so prideful. I noticed growing up as a child, um, a lot of adults right away, because they were adults, they felt like they were never wrong. And that right there, I can talk about all day long. But just because we're adults does not mean we don't make mistakes. So that's how I can relate to this your question because I struggle with that every day And when I am not at my best, I talk to my family. I talk to them, and or I get really quiet and I'll drift away, you know? So social media, yes, it's good to be genuine, but be genuine with your message that you have to deliver. And not put on this mask like everything is perfect, you know? So that is what social media is about. It's not about putting your whole entire everything on social media because not everybody deserves to know everything.
Hmm. Amen, sister. Especially these trolls. I'll
Express
tell you what.
especially the trolls, girl. Especially them.
Yes. I I just did a solo episode, right? Where I was on fire. I had a good meeting with one of my mentors a few hours ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm on fire. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna pop off. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I was talking about the troll, and I was like, trolls are like, the reason they're called trolls is because trolls hide under bridges. And that's what the people do
Hmm.
behind the screen. You know what I mean? I'm like, what
Exactly.
yeah, like no one would
Exactly.
actually walk up to you and say those things. Like people,
No, no,
right? Like it
no.
ain't gonna happen.
It will never happen. No.
Mm-mm. Well,
Um,
we are going to take a quick break and then we're going to be back to wrap up with what it was like. I want to talk about what it was like growing up in Brooklyn, New York. How do you cherish your family? And what do you do to do the work-life balance, right? And anything else that comes to mind, and take a quick 2-minute break and then we'll be right back.
all right.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'll pause it real quick.
Okay.
Actually, I don't have to. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that little education snippet there. And we are back with Leasa Tyrell. We've been talking about some amazing things about married life, about if you're single, what to do and how to invest in yourself, being confident, and some books we talked about, The Secret, and Joyce Myers. What a wonderful author she is, for sure.
Hmm.
And just being how to be authentic to who you are, and some life tools for that. And it was just really refreshing to hear that, because we really do need to practice what we preach and
Yeah.
get out of our way. And one thing that we've talked about was um you know well, we haven't talked about this, but it's implied, like when the way you're raised, like the way you're raising your children, affects you into your adulthood. Every single person out there. I heard someone tell me the other day, she said that if you aren't held as an infant, you're 10 times more likely to be a violent and like criminal activity individual, because you did not receive that skin to skin contact as a baby,
Hmm.
and it'll affect you as you grow up. And on the other hand, you can have amazing loving parents and have a wonderful life, or not. The choice is ours. And you said you're originally from Brooklyn, New York. What?
Hmm.
I
Yep.
like that. That's awesome. I feel like people from New York, they're a whole, I think New York should be its own country. They got a
Seriously.
whole other breed out there. So tell
A
us a little
whole.
bit about Brooklyn and what got you what got you to Florida.
Um, my Brooklyn days, I went to school, and as I got older, I invested time in church. I was I attended a Seventh-day Adventist church, and it was such a blessing to participate in that church because I was a part of the choir, and I did dance praise. And I say it was a blessing because growing up, I was always the one that was either listening to someone or watching someone do something. Like I never felt, you know, important enough to even voice opinions. So when I started to go to church, I began to get out of my shell because I got out of my comfort zones. I performed, I had solos, I did different things. So that's one of the ways that and I did this all on my own. Like my mom didn't tell me to go to church. I did this all on my own because I needed to feel like I was a part of something. And not only that, and it's like, oh, well, you have a family. Mm, yeah, you can have family, but you still don't feel like you're a part of something. It's very possible. So being a part of that church really changed me 360, 180. Yeah, because 360 going back in the same direction. So 180. Uh, so being a part of the church really changed me. It changed me a lot. It brought me out of my shell. And then I started to work. My first job was McDonald's, and it was hardcore. Okay, um, yeah, it was fast paced. I had to do so much upselling, so much stuff. So I built so much character in my Brooklyn days. I wasn't the type of person to, be out in the streets running around. Like I've always had like intentions. It's so weird. Like I always knew what I wanted and I always found ways to go and get it. And I feel like the Brooklyn did that for me, that the energy, because growing up in Brooklyn, everything's like fast paced, everybody's moving fast, the people are somewhat rude. Um, so, you have to be strong, you have to be motivated, you have to keep going in Brooklyn because it's fast paced. And there's a lot of competition as well in New York. It's a competitive state. So I know all about competition and I had to learn tough skin. So coming here now in Florida, I remember when I first came here, I was like, what is going on? Because it was so slow and the people were like smiling. So it was like, you're saying hello to me? Like, why are you saying hello to me? Because in Brooklyn, New York, people don't say hello to you. They barely look at you. So, coming to Florida, coming to Florida, like, hi, hey. And I'm like, hey, hi. It was pleasurable. I loved it. I didn't really like the slow pace. I could hear the crickets in New York. You can't hear the crickets. You can hear sirens, but you can't hear the crickets. So it kind of drove me a little crazy when I first came here. But now adapting to it, I love Florida because I've been back to Brooklyn. I'm like, I'm ready to go back home. So being in Florida is a privilege to me. I came here because of my mom. My mom came here 2006. She purchased a home. Unfortunately, she's not with me any longer because she passed in 2009. But I definitely decided to stay right where I am. So yeah, that's the story with the Brooklyn and the Florida and how I got from point A.
Oh yeah. Do you prefer the warmer weather in Florida? Or do you prefer the weather in New York?
Definitely Florida, and I'm a winter
Ah.
baby, and I cannot stand the cold.
No, I'm the
I
same
don't miss it
way.
one bit. I don't miss it at all. No.
Oh, good. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad Florida has you. It's so interesting how when we first connected on a business level, it was while I was in Florida and you live in Florida. And before that, we just chatted on Instagram and what a beautiful
Right?
relationship from social
Wasn't
media.
wasn't that like such a coincidence? I actually thought you were from Florida. So, and I was the one that pursued you. So it's so funny that I pursued you while you were here,
Mm-hmm.
not in Colorado.
I know. I know. It's amazing how things work out. And it's
Mhm.
so important to, at least this is my self-awareness and my tip of the session, if you will, for everyone listening, including myself, is we do not have control over outcomes. And when I have noticed, like, April has been a very transformative month for me, where I realized the other day, I enrolled into yoga. So I'm going every Tuesday and Thursday morning at like 5 a.m. to hot yoga. And the other day I was in there and all of a sudden it dawned on me. I was like, the entire month of April, I have been basing every single decision on control, which is also equal to fear. When we're doing things that we know we can control, like cleaning our house, taking care of our kids, answering emails, paying our bills excessively, checking the
Mhm.
bank account, only calling family members and close friends, seeking out income opportunities that are controllable, where we get paid for the hour that we put in, right? Like all these different
Mhm.
things that we manifest, and we are able to put in our faith when we act in faith and courage. So there's either control
Mhm.
and fear, or there's faith and courage. And I was just watching Brene Brown's Netflix uh, episode. She has a Netflix thing out there, and she talks about how vulnerability and courage are the exact same thing, which ties into the whole when we just allow things, like when you connected with me and I'm in Florida, I'm on vacation, I'm like, yeah, let's get it. You know what I mean? We're going to
Yeah.
talk, we're going to get to know each other. You just go with the flow and try
Mhm.
to release the outcome and control of things. Because we really, at the end of the day, we actually don't control anything that we think we do. It's so bizarre that we get in this state of mind where we're like, I am God and I actually control the weather. No, we do not. We do not
What
control any of it.
we really don't. I mean, we do have say with certain things, but there's certain things that's just mapped out already. It's just destined, and
Yeah.
I see that. I've witnessed that in my life several
Can you
times.
give us an example of a time where you released the control that we perceive to have in something, a miracle happened? Like when can you share a miracle with our audience? I know I'm calling you. I'm like, name, give me one of your miracles, girlfriend.
Um. Well, being a stay-at-home mom and also being married, I would like to say that it has and it can be a struggle when it comes to like finances. That's why I say before you get into any type of big partnership, definitely, you know, work on something enhancing a skill or something to get paid, properly. Um, so with that being said, there were times, maybe one or two, where I wasn't sure how, ends would meet. And, say for instance, it was just me and the kids and I just had to work things out. I learned to let go and not be so scared. And I learned to let go of pride. Um, it 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 did take a lot. It took a lot of me getting over myself and knowing when to, ask for help. So when I say miracles, it was a miracle because I don't want to say too much, but when you're going through certain things and you're not sure how you're gonna make ends meet, don't give up. And when you don't give up, that's when you see the miracles happen. Because when you practice your faith, then you'll get to see the fruit of your labors.
Hmm.
And I pray I'm being direct enough, but if you ever find yourself going through anything and you feel like you have lost all control, you were supposed to lose that control.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times when we're going through certain situations, we get in our own way, with our ego, our pride, and learning how to put those things away and being humble enough to say, hey, I need help, or whatever you have to do, just don't give up.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say. Do not give up. Do not give up.
Yeah, well, you brought up a great point. You know, don't give up, and you have to know when to ask for help. And there's a podcast a friend of mine had forwarded me today. There's been a great day today. As you can see, I've been having there's I get to, you know, wrap my day up with you and some other things that happened. And my friend sent a podcast to me, and it was a preacher, Transformation Church, and he was, man, this boy was on fire. And he's talking about, well, you don't see these trees, man. They don't just fall from the sky and get planted. Seeds are planted, and when seeds are planted, it is dark, it is lonely. You might think, how am I ever going to get out of this dark space? You know,
Yeah,
like, how
you
am I
gotta
going to grow?
grow.
What's going to happen? Girl,
Hmm.
being an entrepreneur, and especially a stay at home mom, is one of the most lonely, isolating mind traps I think that a person can get. And I did the stay at home mom entrepreneurial thing for like 3 months, right? And
Hmm.
this wasn't that long ago. And
Yeah.
when I was in Florida, I was doing the stay at home mom entrepreneurial full time, right? Like all out, Arbonne, True North, like that was my jam. And I had to become self-aware where I was like, you know what? Like I have so much respect, because it's like, it's so, you can feel like you're never going to see the light of day again. You can feel like, what happened, right? But
Hmm.
God will plant those seeds, and
Yeah.
as long as we rely on, and now I'm getting a little spiritual here, but we rely on God's word and his promises,
Hmm.
that for me are in the holy scriptures and the Bible. Like I'm a follower of Christ. Jesus is my man. He knows
Yeah.
what's up. He, for me, you know, he and when we use the word, and we use our quiet time with God to be the water to grow the seed, you know,
Hmm.
the faith of a mustard seed, the faith of an oak tree. I sometimes, an oak tree seed, right? Because an oak tree, tiny little seed, man, oak tree is a huge tree,
Huge.
but
Yeah.
we can't rely on the gardener to come and water the seed that only God knows where it is. And when we just have that faith and we put in that work and we grow those deep roots, it might take a little bit longer. Yeah, we
Yeah.
might not be able to, you know, hit the gym every day or eat organic food, you know, because we got kids to feed. We can't always go on those expensive trips. We may not be able to get the most glamorous clothes, or heck,
Yeah.
you know, like, we have to rely on God's word to grow our roots, and not the things of the world, not the things we think are
Exactly.
going to make us happy or our kids happy.
Exactly. You know, yeah, there's such a debate when it comes to money. And when they say, money don't buy happiness. You know, money is a tool. You know, you can have money and then not have loved ones. What are you going to be doing with your money? you know, it money allows you to spoil your loved ones and do things with your loved ones, and spend time with yourself as well, and do things for yourself,
Mm,
you know so I just want to make that very clear. So it's finances it's very important. It's extremely important, but living superficial like this, just shallow, that's for me. I know that won't make me happy. What
mm,
makes me happy is knowing that, I have overcome so many things, and but my faith, I'm so grateful for every opportunity, every circumstance that I've been through that has brought me from one level to the next. I'm just thankful for my new mind frame, knowing that life is it's about having a growth mindset. Once you understand that, nothing can stop you.
mm,
And I'm preaching from the choir. Like, I've been doing this, no parents. Like, I don't even want to get emotional, okay? I've been doing this, and of course, you have to have some type of faith. You have to practice something. You have to practice some type of spirituality to get you through it. Superficial things, yes, they come and they go. They come and they go. Your your inner being, your experience, your wisdom, that will bring you through. And that will bring you the true inner peace that will lead to some type of happiness and contentment.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Fact. Fact. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely not easy, but let me tell you something. It's definitely worth it. And just keep visioning. I don't need a vision board. I it's all in here. It's all in here.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
just do little steps. Little steps. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen things come to life. I've seen it. Trust me. When you're in that, when you're un-
Can you hear me? Hello?
yeah, my husband started to call me. Sorry.
Oh, you're like, decline. I'm just playing. You need to answer it. You okay?
He'll probably call me again because I didn't pick it up.
If he calls again, feel free to answer it, and I'll just edit this part out, and then we'll pick up where we left off at. Let's see. We'll give him just a minute to see if he calls again. I'll check something on here. Um. mm, 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 mm. Okay.
So before we wrap it up, just let me know
Mhm.
when you're ready to go again.
I'm ready whenever you are. I just want to make sure your husband was okay. We're about to wrap it up.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So you talk about spirituality and the material possessions and how money, it's a tool. It does not buy you happiness. And happiness, one day I was told, and it stuck with me, happiness is when things are happening. Joy is something we can find in all circumstances when we have strong faith, and living within our means, I think, is really important. When we have the fancy house, the fancy car, we got to have all the fancy clothes and all the fancy devices. So what? So people will think we're at a certain level of success. It really just comes down, it makes us, I think that when we are more into our possessions and less into our relationships, it makes us less relatable, which then
Yeah.
to a more lonely life. Like, no, you don't have to be, if you're making 6 figures a year, you're making 7 figures a year, 8 figures a year. No, you do not have to get rid of the money and go back down to where you were in the beginning to
Mhm.
connect with those people, but don't let it be like, don't let it, don't have a love for money, but for
Mhm.
what money can do for you. You know what I
For
mean? Like what
and
it
your
can do for the
family.
organizations you're involved in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I realize a lot of people, that, especially that doesn't that they don't understand money. There's some people that believe that money's like the devil or something. It definitely is a tool, and if you use it right, then it's a blessing. Um, I did want to say, from every failure that I've had, it has taken me out of my comfort zone tremendously. All my failures gave me a chance to gain perspectives, because prior to my failures and losses, I did not have much of a perspective. It was my perspective, and that was it. I didn't I didn't try to relate to anyone else, and I feel like a lot of people don't try to relate to other people or consider other people's feelings. um my failures has taught me to evaluate my emotional intelligence like crazy. um it has taken me out of my comfort zone to believe. So if anyone is going through any type of failure, please know that this is not anything to harm you. It is definitely everything to grow you and enhance you, and it will do that if you allow it. So that is definitely a message that I have for people out there that's going through anything, any type of failures. Learn from it. It's a lesson. Definitely.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, girl. That's a beautiful note to wrap up this podcast with. You have blown my socks off with everything, all the wisdom that you have and all the different messages you have and where you came from to where you are today. And I think that full-time motherhood is the most rewarding and most challenging job in the world. You never get a break.
You can do that. You can do anything. I don't know if you're familiar with Kat and Sam. I love those girls.
I don't know who that is.
You need to look them up. They are so honest. And I love when people are so authentic like that, because it makes you relate so much. Yeah, Kat and Sam, look them up.
Kat and Sam.
Yeah. Nat and Sam. Nat.
Okay. Nat and Sam. Cool.
Yeah, they're so funny. Yeah, they're funny. Trust me, you'll enjoy them. I've learned a thing or two watching them as well.
Cool. Well, so how can people get a hold of you, and what is any information you want to leave about your social media platforms, your business? How can people look that stuff up?
So on my platforms, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube, Natural Leasa 111. DM me, email me. My email is linked in my Instagram, but it's leasaterrell@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again. And till next time, enjoy those kids and keep it real in that marriage of yours, and just keep spreading the message, man. It's what we all need to hear.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job. It was awesome doing this show with you. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, anytime. My pleasure. You can come on the show anytime you want to. You got something new happening in your life?
Back.
Okay. Sweet. All right, sister. Well, thank you. And until next time.
We meet again.
That is a wrap, my friends. We had such an amazing time on this episode and have so much more in store for you. Maybe you were listening and thought, man, my friend would really benefit from hearing this. Or maybe you were thinking, wow, I'd really like to get involved and change the world with these ladies. Well, I've got some good news for you. We have openings. Yes, that's right. You want to be on the show as an influencer, or if you want to start your own health and wellness industry with Arbonne, we are looking for you. Maybe you want to keep listening or you want to keep watching. That's cool too. We're always here for you and cheering you on your journey to be the best version of yourself 365 days out of the year. Until next time, peace.